Hey traders, it's AC Trader here, again breaking down another day of trading with you. So sitting down first thing in the morning, we did notice that our top gainer scanner didn't have these big parabolic moves that we've had earlier in the week. So we also weren't seeing the volume, and all the stocks that we had were either penny stocks that were up with large floats or just stocks that really didn't meet the stocks that I like to trade. Right? We did have a few things, but nothing too crazy. So we had that, and we had also the fact that on these slower days, I've been really focusing on not getting caught in these pops and drops. We've been seeing them a lot lately. I've been trying to identify them before they happen, and focusing on times when they happen and where I see that I'm more vulnerable to taking a trade that potentially could have that effect happen. And one thing I have noticed is that right at the opening bell for pre-market and the 9:30 opening bell is when these typically happen. I get into a nice trade, get green, and then I hold too long and it ends up dropping like crazy. So I'm approaching the market with a lot of precaution. I've been doing really well with it, obviously not getting caught in any of those, but I don't want to forget that, especially on a slower day like today when we're not seeing these big parabolic moves that we were having earlier in the week. So our first stock we looked at was actually PRTG. The PRTG did have this really nice move. It had this nice little stair-stepping pattern going up, and right at 7 o'clock, right here, right at 7 o'clock, it did have this big, nice jump. Unfortunately, I wasn't, there at 7 o'clock. I wasn't ready. I didn't get to do my due diligence of breaking down the charts, making sure I knew exactly where the stock could go, why it could go there, and all that. So I didn't want to get into a trade that I wasn't ready for. So I did see that it did break this previous high over the 12, which would have been a great trade to take and spike up. However, like I've been saying, these pops and drops lately, and it being at 7 o'clock, I just didn't trust it because I didn't do my due diligence. Could have been a great trade. Absolutely would have been a wonderful trade. Now looking back at it, I did start to put my trend lines here, or my horizontal lines here, just to be on the safe side to mark it out, just in case it wanted to make another move. So I started looking at the daily, and we did have, some room to move. We had right there at 759, we were already over, so we didn't have to worry about that. We had the 997 mark, which we already broke, which was right. So we definitely already broke it. So we had some room to run, and then we ended up running right up to that 1289 mark. So hindsight, really looking at it, I'm glad since I didn't get in on that trade right away, we hit that 1289 mark and then came right back down. I wasn't able to capitalize on that when we did have some room all the way up to $24, $23 after that. But we hit that high. I didn't try to overstay my welcome on that. Didn't let the fear of missing out and get to me. And then realistically, that was the high of day. We retested it, weren't able to break over it. We were patient. We didn't take that trade and get into that false breakout because the MACD was negative here, even though we had the influx of volume. So PRTG just unfortunately wasn't a stock that we got to today. We were late to the trade and we didn't take it, which was good. We didn't get ourselves into a point where our very first trade of the day was a negative trade. So that's good. It's why we wanted to do that. So QNTM was the first stock we actually ended up trading today. Now, even though I was just talking to you guys about the pops and drops, I did want to look at this one a little different. We did have this nice move right here, and we did have that rejection. Now, looking at this stock, I did not trade it right here. We did see it on the scanner when it started moving. We did not take this trade initially. At this point, after the rejection, we just did our due diligence since nothing was going on, nothing else was moving at this point in time. We were looking at the daily chart and wanted to mark some things out. We also, when I was looking at the daily chart, did start to see that it was kind of forming this really nice curl pattern happening. So what I did is, just to be on the safe side, I went and marked my, horizontal resistances. We did have a few here. All right, perfect. So we had some room, especially from about 1063 up to all the way to 1244. So we had some room. And one thing I did notice is, over the past few days, since we had these two green candles, we had a trend line forming. So from that high, the high of yesterday, as soon as we broke this, it popped. So I was like, oh, okay. Maybe this trend line is a valid trend line. See what's happening here and see if we can retest it later. Now, where our first trade came in was actually up on this right here. As soon as we broke this trend at 939, we were able to hold this trend line. I wanted to take the break over 1020 here, at 1020 mark, at 1045 mark. So at that 1045 mark, one, we were holding that trend line. Two, we are coming up to this trend horizontal resistance line, yes. However, we're holding this trend line. 1050 is a psychological resistance line, but if we get that pop over it to retest our high of 1155, I think that would work beautifully. So doing that, end up taking that trade, holding it through, end up working out flawlessly, just because we were able to find that that trend line to hold that zone and that pop up over it. So it ended up working out beautifully. That was the first trade that we ended up taking today, and it was a nice green trade. Absolutely wonderful. Can't beat it. Now, we did have another trade. Let's actually get our MACD out. What do we do this? That's, once again, how we trade. We use our MACD. Love that. Love the MACD, love our trend lines, and love our pullbacks. So looking right here, we had that break over 12. So once we got this drop, this rally back up, lower volume selling with a green candle, and the MACD opening right here is when I took that trade. So once we up over 12, that breakthrough 12, going up to 1244, which is our high that we already had marked out right here, a nice 40-cent move. So not a huge gainer, but 40 cents is 40 cents on every share. We'll take that. So we got two nice trades, one right here, and then one right here as well. Just because, one, we drew our trend line here, and we used our MACD to find these trades. It's all about being patient right now. Patience is key with how the market's been going. I want to find those setups that work for me, and ones that I can recognize, and I think other people may be recognizing as well. Did see that trend line forming. I thought that was a good pattern. I did see that break up over 12, and it did end up working. Obviously, we did have that resistance line, so I knew once we got close to it that we had to bail out. There's a potential it may go up, absolutely. However, we knew we had the resistance line at 1244, so we didn't want to overstay our welcome. We already had this pop and drop here. We already retested it, and we did break through, but it trying for the third time, I didn't really feel too confident in on it. A little riskier trade, sure, but the MACD crossing, us breaking that high, going up over 12, there was a no-brainer for me to take that trade and at least attempt to get something out of it. I thought that was a good trade. Did work out. Beautiful. So the next one that we ended up taking was our friend MLGO. MLGO did make a couple moves again today. Not something that, once again, I was super excited about. How high and how long can this thing move, and where are we going with it? We did have a couple news headlines on it, and we did have a couple nice patterns form. So one of the patterns that formed was right here about that 10 o'clock mark. We had this nice little pullback, little flat bull flag here, little pullback, and shot up. So we were able to capitalize on that point as well. We already had the resistance points marked out. We already knew everything about MLGO. It's been popping up for the last week. So we were familiar with this stock. We kind of knew what was going on prior to getting in. And we also knew that there's a risk of it popping and dropping. It has done that before, and we don't want that to happen. Pops and drops. And we don't want that to happen. And, so we took everything with precaution. We're able to break the high right here at 18.15. So we took that break up over 18. right in. So can't beat that. Absolutely wonderful. 1777 all the way to $19. We didn't collect that whole move, absolutely not. But from 17 up, absolutely. We got it to probably it was right around. Let's see, actually, yeah, it was right at 1860 roughly. So honestly, not a bad move. Weren't too sure if it was going to go up. I'll take that. You're not going to capitalize on the entire thing, so I'll take it. Absolutely wonderful. And yep. So I think after that, the only other stocks that we traded. All right, and I believe the last stock we ended up actually taking trades on was SNSE. Now this is a penny stock, not something I normally trade. However, we did have a couple nice patterns forming. We did already mark out the daily chart here. There's a lot going on. I know it's a light show. Let's break it down. That's why I have two separate charts. That way I can stay organized and keep my thoughts, clear and see exactly what's going on and where it's going on. So early in the morning, we did start to get this move upwards. Great. As soon as we got the move upwards, we had a big rejection. And we also had it stop at 67. So right now, at that point, we were up over our 200 EMA, this purple line that's going right here. And I wanted to see if we can hold this 62 level, the 62 cent level. So fortunately, we didn't retrace, but we dropped back down to that 54 mark, roughly. And we started to have this nice little curl pattern happen. When this curl pattern happened, we had this MACD crossing as well with some increased volume. Breaking VWAP, up over 57, up over 59, these two horizontals, then even up over 62, all the way back up to 70 at the end of this green candle. We got out in this candle here on the selling pressure, but what a great move. A few cents on a penny stock with large number of shares, we'll absolutely take it. So I think that was the only move we took on SNSE, not something like I said, we would normally do. However, we did our due diligence. We marked everything out. We waited for our nice little curl setup. A curl, absolutely love curl setups. One of our favorite ones to trade, especially when it's curling up over VWAP. Ended up working out great. All the signs that we typically trade, it ended up working. So that was pretty much our breakdown, guys. The key takeaways today was we gotta trade the market. We can't force anything to happen. We have been doing really well on it. We really want to, make sure that we are keeping our head on our shoulders and not swinging for the fences. If we think the market's going to be slower, take a step back and only trade the stocks that we should be trading, or only the setups that we like and that we know work or work most of the time. It's not always going to work, but we also keep our stops, our losses low. If it's not pulling away right away on a market like today, you got to get out. So when I got in right here and it ended up breaking that point and going up over VWAP, great. But if it didn't break that VWAP, I'm out. I'm not staying in this trade. It's not something I'm, looking for. So just all about patience. Patience, I think is the biggest thing I'm taking out of, being a trader and learning how to trade, more effectively. I've been doing good, but I've only been doing good because of my patience. I've learned that excitement or fear of missing out and taking these trades aren't always the best thing, because you're thinking emotional, not logically. Logically think about your setups. Does this work? Have I seen this before? What's happened last time? Does this, has this pattern happened? And that's what's been saving me. I'm not trading at that 930 mark. I'm not trading at that 730 mark, even though we had these nice moves right here at 930. I didn't want to take it just to be on the safe side of those pops and drops. Imagine if I got in late and decided to, okay, hey, look, it's 940. We're a little past that mark at 930. And get that spike and say I was late and end up dropping. So it's just, it's patience. Only taking the setups when it works for you, right? Not everybody sees it the way you see it. But anyway, guys, that's it for today. Hope you guys have a great weekend. Please like and subscribe.